Buckle up, it's the Insurance Dudes Podcast.
Boom! Oh yeah, Brad.
Oh yeah.
That's how
I touchdown. I missed it.
We can't tell you beforehand because we want to see the response.
Man, well, you guys got it going on. That's
a big entrance for a big personality.
I got 3-year-olds that don't have that kind of energy.
That's right. So Brad Zude, a father of 8 kids and an entrepreneur. I don't know how you have time. Jason has 4, and he complains about how much work that is. So, I mean, multiply that by 2.
It's plenty. It's plenty. That's for sure.
Well, welcome to the Insurance Dudes, Jason. Why don't you hit him with the first question?
First question. What was your first concert?
Oh man, so I got persuaded completely against my mother's will, right? So I was a good kid in school, like in band and all the good, good grade, whatever. And I had friends that wanted to take me to Dave Matthews Band in Soldier Field. And she just tried to find every reason not to let me go and was listening to the songs and, looking for all the whatever. And apparently she, somehow must have listened to the right ones. And I ended up going to Dave Matthews Band, Soldier Field. So that was probably 2001 or something like that.
Nice.
Pretty crazy.
You're like our 3rd Dave Matthews, maybe even 4th. But it hasn't been in a while. There hasn't been a Dave Matthews in a while. Right, Craig?
I was thinking no, there hasn't. And I was thinking with that buildup that it was going to be like Ozzy or AC/DC.
Yeah, no. Yeah, it could have been worse. See, that's you were me.
Metallica.
Like, 20 years ago. I'm like, Mom, it's not that bad.
It's Dave Matthews Band. It's
really
okay.
Not to have a violin in it. How can you be that bad with a violin?
Right. That's true.
Well, so you have your hands full. 8 kids.
I do.
And you've been an insurance dude.
Yeah, totally. Wild.
People ask me why 4. So I'm going to ask you why 8.
It's crazy. I mean, I'm not out like, trying to have as many kids as possible or like get my own reality TV show, but I would definitely take the residual checks if A&E wanted to come knock on my door and get me. But yeah, so it's, so I'm a Christian and, my wife and I, we just like, hey, we believe in the God of the universe and we trust him and we trust him with our finances and, everything else. And the Bible says, children are a blessing and we're like, well, okay, well, I guess that we just trust him with those too. There's no qualifier. And so we're just like, all right, well, we're just going to go in the kitchen and put the cake ingredients in a bowl. And if a cake pops out, then I guess that's what God has for us, and, it's so funny because it's like people take this for granted, almost like, oh yeah, just have kids and you can just have as many as you want. Well, some people can't, and that's just who God is in our life. And it's wild. I think it's every time I tell people I have 8 children, I think it's as wild as they react to when they hear that I have 8 children. So I still wake up every morning and be like, I have 8 children. Who let me do this? Like, how did my mom let me go to a Dave Matthews concert, but not be like, oh, hey, 8 children, right. Really? Like, is that the decision? Totally. Can we at least second guess that one? So,
but you would, it's just amazing. Is there ever a moment where you don't remember a name?
Every day, you know what I mean? It's like, it's really difficult, because like we have a big 12 passenger van, right? A big Ford Transit van,
Yeah.
And we'll get in the car and like, you can't see in the far back row. And I can't tell you how many times we're pulling out of wherever. And, we're like, hey, we forgot Peter, it's kind of like the joke, where's Kevin? We forgot Kevin, like the whole Home Alone thing. And, it happens more than I want to admit. That's for sure. So pretty crazy, but it's fun. It is, 1's a change, 2's a change, 3's a change. And look, if you added a 5th, you already got the clothes, you got to heat the house anyways. It's what's one more box of macaroni and cheese. And it's really not that big a deal. It's a slippery slope. It's a slippery slope.
Love it. Cool. Well, take us back from Dave Matthews with no kids to, after Dave Matthews and now with 8 kids and you were an insurance agent. What's that whole story?
It's crazy. my family owns some car dealerships. So that's kind of my primary role. We actually owned the insurance agencies inside the car dealerships. But yeah, high school, college, University of Iowa, the whole deal. And, fell in love with a beautiful young lady, and who's her family. Her parents lived in a small town, but they owned like the biggest business in the small town. It was this big winery and this big operation and everything. And, it was always like, oh, whoever she marries is going to be like the guy to go work in their family business. But it's like, I had this really big thing in this really big city in Iowa of like my family business. So I stole her away. And she was going to be like third generation winemaker and like the whole deal. And I screwed it all up. So, got married right out of college, got married a year to the date after our first date. Just one of those deals where, man, you just knew, and it was crazy. And then after that, we didn't have kids for 2 years, and just started having children, working in the family business. And then, said insurance company came by and says, hey, you should put insurance agencies inside your car dealerships. And so we're hearing this presentation and like sitting in the room full of car guys. Now I get to make fun of car guys because I am one. Okay. But it's so like, you're looking around and they're like, well, who has the highest probability of passing an insurance exam at this room? Oh, it's the college educated guy. I think you're going to be the one to go do that. So I'm like, all right, that sounds fun. I'm game.
Fun.
And, went and flew to the big city where you get trained and drank all the Kool-Aid for a couple months and, got that whole deal. And, it's so funny because, like, again, it's true car guy fashion. It's like, oh, you like that vehicle out there? Well, here's my blank sheet of paper and a pen, and I'm going to start pencil whipping a car deal. And you're going to be driving home a brand new car today, whether you know it or not. And like insurance, it's like, oh, that'll be $39.71. Yeah, I don't like that. That price is too high. I'm sorry. That'll be $39.71. Like total culture shock for me. Like I couldn't work a deal on, just the price was the price. And so, so then I did that for 5 years and recently just sold off all the agencies. So kind of wild.
Crazy.
And so as an entrepreneur, you couldn't sit idle. I say you jumped into some other things.
No, gosh. Total blessing and total curse, like any entrepreneur, you just can't shake it off. And so we started having all these children, and then it's like, we started getting these babies sleeping through the night, right? We had some friends that went to our church that taught a parenting course. And so we kind of became their, the whole, like, I'm not a Star Wars guy, but like Yoda and whatever, Mr. Miyagi and, the Karate Kid. And so we just started learning all this stuff. And my wife, guys, I'm a little biased because I married her, but she's fantastic. And she started getting really good at this stuff. And I didn't even think twice about it. We had friends calling. They're like, hey, can you help us with getting our baby sleep? And we're like, okay, yeah, cool, whatever. But then like, I knew we were onto something when it was like other people called us. They're like, yeah, hi, you don't know me, but you're the baby sleep people, right? Like I'll pay you whatever it takes for you to come over.
I will pay you anything.
I will pay you anything. And so like, then we're like, oh man, we're on to something. And then I Googled like how much these people make. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like we can, like, we're going to do this. Like, this isn't a small deal. And then like, it just took off like insane. We just millions of views online, featured in all the biggest media all over the world, NBC, ABC Today, like the whole schmear. Then we wrote a book about it, became a #1 best-selling baby sleep book. That's this one over here in the background. Just like super wild, like crazy wild. And that it just kind of happened. We didn't really understand we had a superpower, and we didn't really understand that people are willing to pay us a bunch of money for our superpower. And, that's the entrepreneur dream, is finding your superpower and finding a way that you can maximize the opportunity for people to pay you as much as possible for it. So.
Love it. Well, with all of your experience with babies and insurance, I mean, there's so many fathers out there that are trying to balance the agency. You know how difficult selling insurances and serving everybody. What are some tips for the insurance dads out there that you might have?
Yeah, well, it's so interesting because there's at least the good insurance agents, right? Listening to this podcast, which is all of you, right? None of you listening, but like you don't wake up and go to the office and be like, you know what? I hope I just randomly accidentally sell a few policies today. I just hope someone, drops, a home and 3 autos on me today. No, like you wake up and you have a plan, and like you spend time on your plan, and you check up, you check up with your agents and go like, hey, how many follow-up calls have you made today? Like, hey, how are you doing towards your, 40 item goal this month? Right. And parenting's the same way. Like, you don't just wake up and be like, I hope something good comes out of my parenting randomly today, Yeah. And it takes work and it takes plan. So like, one of the things my wife and I do that we recommend to everybody, is like go on a working date night. We call them working date nights. So what that means is, and the first part sounds daunting for men who are listening, but wait, you'll get yours in a minute here. But you need to go out to dinner, whether it's cheeseburgers and fries or it's a nice dinner. Bring blank sheets of paper and a pen and do work and be like, all right, Andrew, okay, what is Andrew currently struggling with? What is our daughter currently struggling with? What makes her happy? Like what would just like make her day if I did? And what is like a punishment that really means something to her? With 8 kids, we have to study them like we study our business. I can, losing the privilege of like their iPad for an hour, like is death to some of my children, right? They just assume jump off a bridge, then lose iPad time. Right. But other of my children, it's like, losing dessert is like the end of the earth for them, and all these kinds of things. So spend time with your wife and your husband and study what makes your children tick and be intentional about it. And it makes things so much easier when we have a plan, when we're prepared, when we're on the same page. And it takes work, guys. But then, hey, at the end of the night, those are always sweet dreams at the end of that when you go with your wife and you put in some work and you talk and discuss and, plan and prepare and execute the plan. Good parenting, like I said, it's not waking up and just hoping for the best. It's waking up every day and executing the plan. A good football team does it. A good basketball team does it. A good businessman does it. And parenting is just the same.
How come there isn't that perception that that's what needs to be done? It seems like what you're saying is common sense. Right?
Well, it is because let's measure the time. Let's measure the amount of time it takes to become an insurance agent. Okay. You got to study. Okay. Yeah. Someone actually makes you study. You have to actually go get a license to do this. And then if you're bad at it, it gets like taken away and like you suck and you close and you fail and you go bankrupt or whatever. Right. Parenting. Hey, and that's that's how God designed it. But I'm more in favor of a license for parenting and at least the amount of effort it takes to become an insurance agent to, raise a human being, in your world. I always joke around like, there's an order of events. It's plants, puppies, people, right? If you have a plant and kill it, not that big a deal. If you have a puppy and kill it, it's a little more traumatic, but at least 9 times out of 10, you're not going to jail. But people, you can't screw it up. It's like, it's a really, really big deal. So, yeah.
That's funny. What, gosh. So, I mean, I know I'm kind of jumping around, but what a change going from, the insurance car world into doing what you're doing now. What are some things that helped you through that transition?
Yeah. It's funny. I mean, I think the things, the nice thing about business is that all the core principles stay the same, right? So whether you're an insurance agent or whether you're, at a car dealership, we're in the people business. And, not to confuse brains with a bull market, right? Because I knew nothing about insurance. Like I passed my test and then I went to, the campus to learn about insurance, and we're doing all this stuff and they're talking all these terms. And I'm like, hey, wait a minute. I just passed the test. Like you're you got to back way up here, man, if you're going to, and I was lost. And I knew one thing. that I'm going to have to hire a bunch of really great people. I'm going to have to treat them really, really right. And I'm going to have to make sure they never, ever leave me, or else I am screwed. Like I will fail faster than fast on this deal. And that's probably like the biggest commonality that I knew. I didn't know insurance at all, but I knew business and I knew people. And, so many people and so many agents that I talk to, like they're like, oh, I pay my LSPs, X and this or some small, I'm like, that's why you don't keep good people. Like, well, like, what are you doing? Like right. like I want to lock my people, golden handcuffs, the whole schmear, so it's like, there were a ton of differences, like the insurance versus the car. That's a completely different animal. It was just punch in buttons, a number came out and you tried to sell, your client on the value proposition of, hey, I know I'm the same price as everybody, but if your house burns down, I'm going to come out and help you, whatever. and so we need good people that people like and trust and believe are going to be there 10 years from now and all that kind of stuff. That's what I was able to focus on, and not so much like the staunch differences between, the two realities. And it worked. I was able to keep really good people. I was able to ask them to go above and beyond and be accountable, and produce big numbers, but I paid them exceptionally well to do so. I treated them like family. And, I said I'd pay for some term policies, if they stayed with me, and all, a couple little, kickers in there that I knew would help them stick around. But,
and it might have helped you too.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was, that was the big, the technicalities were different, but business is business, whether you're having a baby, you're an insurance guy, or you're, it's all the same. It really is.
Yeah. I think there's a big catch-22 around that. I need to hire, but I need to also conserve resources. So there's this thing in the mind that is telling you, I need to conserve resources. I need to not waste money. So I'm going to go cheap. And then when they're good, I'll pay them more. But, but that's like that's the push versus the pull. We need to bring in and attract them good from the beginning. Otherwise the turnover. And the turnover is so much more expensive.
Yeah.
I don't even know that there's a question in there. I just love the point that you pay. Like I pay more than when I first started, I had tons of turnover and I would go cheap. Yeah. And I'm like, wait a minute, I want to pull my hair out with the amount of people that are coming in and leaving.
Yeah. You don't go up to a fire pit and say, okay, when it gets me warm, I'll finally put some wood on it. You gotta, you gotta invest in, and the big hitters. Cause see, I had, so here's my setup in my agencies. So we were a 7 rooftop car dealership. Okay. That means we had 7 showrooms. So imagine having like 7 retail offices where people literally walk into your door day after day. I mean, I met with, and again, that's why I said, not to confuse brains with the bull market. Cause I was able to put these in, and we sat with more people. Like when we went out and met a customer who just bought a car, and we're like, did our little spiel, and we're like, hey, maybe we can save you some money on your car insurance, this and that, and got them to, agree to a quote. Like I had more quotes to do in a day with my team than most people see in a month. And it was just like, oh, thank you. This guy told us he wasn't interested. Oh, I'm so good. So like I had a unique problem to fulfill that not many people did, solely because of the dealership. But where was I going with that? What was your question? I totally lied. Total dad moment of 8 kids.
Well, just
the difference is
just
hiring good people.
Quality,
yeah. So, and I can't be in 7 places at one time. Right. So like I literally had to go out in my agencies and I would put out an ad. I'd create a killer ad. It's like, hey, are you too social to sit at your desk all day in some 1930s house and, cold call the phone book all day trying to get, and all this kind of crafty stuff that I thought was cool. And so I would be interviewing these agents and be like, all right, here's the deal. You're going to have to trust me. This is going to sound weird, but I know nothing about insurance. I can't help you. Matter of fact, I'm not even going to see you during the day because I can't even get to you throughout the whole entire day. But I'm going to pay you well, and I need you to do a good job. And so basically, I sold them on the fact, like, this is like your own agency. Okay. Like, not only are you the smartest person in it, but like, I'm not going to be around, and you need to be able to go out and do like fast-paced, hardcore work and the whole schmear. And people loved that idea. You know, they loved that they felt like they were the agent. Like, they didn't even, like, they would get mail. Like my clients, my book of business, they'd get mail from this Brad guy, and they would literally call like Sarah, and they'd be like, Sarah, who's this Brad guy you're my agent? Like, I don't even know who this Brad guy is. They've never met me, you know? And so it worked out well because my licensed sales professionals, they felt like the agent. They worked their business like an agent without someone breathing down their back. They weren't treated like kids. They're treated like adults, treated like agency owners, and did a great job, made a lot of money. I made a lot of money. We wrote a ton of business fast. And it worked. So
That's cool. I have a question for you, is that, I have 4 kids, and I have to be involved,
good.
I get a certain direction. You know what I mean? Like it's not, I have to be home sometimes, and there's a lot going on. You with 8 kids now, I mean, doing the agencies, the car dealership, now you're doing all this. I mean, how do you keep yourself focused and organized with so much going on?
Yeah. I mean, we live and die by structure. Right. And, in our house, we have to, we talk and we game plan and we do so many things. And, we really live our life in 10-minute increments, really. I mean, there's, we'll say, all right, it's time to do dinner prep, and we all need to do our chores. We have pre-decided things, and then, we'll eat dinner. And then right before dinner's over, we'll be like, all right, here's what the next hour of our life is going to look like. We're going to put away dinner, and we're all going to be doing our dinner cleanup chores. And then we're going to take showers, and then, there's a new Dude Perfect, and we're going to go watch that, or, whatever. And what I've found in life and in business and in parenting, the more structure we can have, the better. I kind of a sidebar. So back to the Dave Matthews story. Shortly after that, I went to college, and I had great parents growing up. Fantastic. The whole deal. But like, I wasn't like overly prepared to be like an independent college student. I didn't really know how to do my own laundry. I didn't really have amazing study skills. Like I didn't, but I suppose that's what you go to college to learn. But anyways, I had someone tell me one time, give me really good advice. And they said, here's what you need to do. You need to plan every second of your life. I'm like, well, I don't want to be that busy. And they're like, no, you don't understand. You need to plan every second of your life. So plan for study time, but plan, what I did a lot of at the time, plan beer drinking time. Right. And, so whatever it is, that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing at that time. And, I took that with me into my agencies and everything. It's like, hey, every day I needed to pull up these reports. I needed to check on this. I needed to make this phone call. I needed to say good morning to all my people. And I was very intentional about no matter what I was doing, even if it was, scheduling golf in the afternoon, right? I was like, all right, golf in the afternoon, and in the morning, I'm going to be doing this. And that's been really good advice. That served me well. So we do that in our business, in our home, is that we schedule and talk and good communication, being on the same page is really the key to success, whether it's with your wife or whether you have, LSPs in the office. I mean, if something's bothering them, we got to talk about it. We've got to, if they're not liking something, we got to sit down with them and saying, hey, you know what, you're upset about the way we're paying on life insurance policies. Tell me more about that. Tell me what you feel. Tell me how it was at your last agent. Tell me why you think that. Okay, well, and be open to, changing the pay plan. They're used to getting, they didn't like $25 per policy, but they wanted to make $500 if they wrote 10 or, whatever. And effectively communicating with our spouses and our employees just goes a really long way and makes everyone happy, you know?
A lot
So,
can break
love it.
down if the communication isn't there. Now,
Yeah.
I'd like to pivot to the current business. So influencer parenting, all of these different things that was an entrepreneurial venture, obviously, and you have now you're built with structure, yet you have people calling and a lot of different things coming in, probably not prepared or planned for.
Sure.
How did you turn that into structure?
Well, it's funny because that's really so structure is really what really what the business is built on. And I'd argue any business, but I kind of say it like this, like getting a baby sleeping through the night. It's all about the emotional and mental support to make sure that someone's feeling the warm and fuzzies, that they know it's going to be okay. Yes, it's okay. Your baby cries. No, they're not going to grow up to hate you and, you know, whatever. And it's really just making sure it gets done. Right. So it's kind of like hiring a personal trainer at the gym, right? Like I know how to go turn on a treadmill. Okay. I don't lack the knowledge. Like I have the $10 for the gym membership. Like my issue is getting my butt out of bed at 6:15 every morning. Right. So that's really the piece that was missing with moms as well. It's not so much that we have some type of magic secret parenting sauce, although, you know, I mean, sidebar, I mean, if you have a toddler that's misbehaving, I mean, for $1 a day, I will dramatically change your life. So you need to go do that. But like, I know I shouldn't eat carbs and sugar, but like I spent all day today eating carbs and sugar. And, you know, when we just be that emotional and mental support for moms out there, that's really when the rubber meets the road. Now we have a unique system, don't get me wrong. And we do things we think very, very efficient. But that's what it's really about. You know, it's kind of like, I literally remember like my first day on the job of my insurance agency. It was like my doors were open. There were people everywhere, like people buying cars everywhere. We were slammed. And like my LSPs, like they knew what to do. They were out talking insurance talk and the whole deal. And I'm like, can I buy lunch? Like, is it like, can I at least participate like buying lunch, you know, like, and that was just like the moral support of like, hey, you guys are doing great. Like, here's what I can do. And that's really the key to success in the way we have things set up. It's not just like, oh, here's a video course, go read. Oh, here's a book, go do it on your own. And, you know, you can't just go to Barnes and Noble and pick up a book on Spanish and like start speaking Spanish fluently like a week later, right? You don't go and buy a book on how to be rich and then like you just it doesn't work that way. And so we took that concept into the parenting world. And that's why we became #1 best-selling authors. That's why the system that we created, you know, in any business, it's the system, you know, and the system of accountability and support that we created, gets the job done in a way that most others, if any, do so well.
Love it.
Brad, can you talk about the book?
Yeah. So we, I'm all wired in here. Let me see. I can reach without ripping everything out. Yeah. So we actually we wrote a book, called My Baby Can Sleep, named after one of our companies. And it literally became a #1 best-selling book, like, which is crazy. Cause like we're like small town Iowa. Like I've never written a book. Like if my English teacher, you know, in high school knew I wrote a book, she would, you know, flip over in her grave at this point. You know, but it was one of those things. It was just like becoming an insurance agent. I'm like, okay, well, this is hard and this is probably going to suck a majority of the time, but like, I'm going to do it. Like I'm going to do the things that it takes to write a book, and I'm going to get in there and learn something new, and figure it out. And we did, and it became a #1 Amazon best-selling parenting book. We got featured in all the major media all over the world, thousands of copies, millions of views. And it just worked. And, it's just super wild. It just couldn't be more surreal to see my face on Amazon, as a best-selling author, and hanging with the big boys in the baby industry. It's pretty crazy. So, yeah, pretty wild.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
Yeah,
Man. So we always, you know, at the end of all of our podcasts, we ask what would be the number one piece of advice you would give to any insurance agent. And I think with you and your unique, talent of, man, I can't believe you got 8 kids. Like, that's awesome.
Right.
We had to stop at 4 because 4 was the straw that broke the camel's back. Like, it was like, all right, we're here at 4, like, that we can't take on anymore. So you being a parent, there's so many insurance parents out there with people that are jumping into the agencies or might have an agency with kids and stuff. What's the number one piece of advice you would give to parents?
Well, in the insurance business, in my opinion, and this isn't true for everybody, but there are a lot of other careers that are more time demanding than owning your own insurance business.
Right.
And I think that, that's the design of it. That's part of the attraction that, hey, you've got a little bit of time on your hands. So I love the opportunity that insurance agents have to be effective people in the life of their children. And I guess I would implore you to take a look at the opportunity that you have to be very involved in your family's life, in your children's life. There are a lot of people that work 80 hours a week, and I'm sure there are somewhere listening, some insurance agents do, or at least feel like it. But, typically it's a flexible job that doesn't require, that kind of time. And you have a gift that most business men and women don't have. And, you need to take advantage of it. You need to not be tempted to spend that time foolishly, whatever that means. And, I'd implore you to spend that time investing in things that matter in your life. It's crazy. Like, if you have a toddler or a teen, like, I've got a program for $20 a month. For less than $1 a day, I will radically transform your life. Okay. Now, most people sitting on listening to this podcast have a $20 pair of underwear on, or like a $20 pair of socks on, right? So like they're not investing, they're taking these gifts and they're not investing them in the right place. So with your time that you have as an insurance agent, invest into your family. It's the most important investment that you can make, no matter how old your kids are. Even if you feel like it's too late, even if you feel like, oh man, my son's 14 and he hates me. Okay, well, I can help you. Like, we'll get this done. Yeah, you've blown it a little bit, but that doesn't mean, it's kind of like planting a tree. When's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. The second best time today, right?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with parenting. No matter where you're at, invest in your family. It's the most important thing you can do, and use that time wisely for sure.
I love that. It's so true. I literally, there's been a few agents that I look up to that had a career, and they were at the end of their career, and they all said the same thing to me was, I spent too much time in the office.
Yep. Yep. And you know what? If you pay good people and you don't be stimpy on paying people, and you get the right people in there, you'll actually, not you guys, I'm sure, but you guys listening, but pay up. Get the right people in your office and make your life even easier than it is. And you'll be so happy, and your office will run much more smoothly. There'll be less catfighting.
100%.
You'll have a better experience the day they will. You'll have a better home life, and all because you didn't want to spend another $2 an hour for the all-star employee. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It is amazing.
It's true.
Yeah.
We're always worried about the little things, and we're always in the weeds, and it's hard for us to take our head above and just kind of survey the consequences. Sometimes
you get someone in there writing 50, 60 items a month. You can't spend too much money on them. You just can't spend too much money on that person doing that deal.
Yep.
True. All day long. So I know you also have a podcast. Let's mention that. So
Parenting with the Zudes podcast. We're a top, it fluctuates, but we're a top 100, top 50 parenting podcast. So you can go to Parenting with the Zudes. If you have a baby that won't sleep through the night, you can go to mybabycansleep.com, mybabycansleep.com. And if you have a toddler that's misbehaving, which if you have a toddler, they are misbehaving. So if you have a toddler, you need to go to influencerparenting.com. Literally, I'll transform your life by tomorrow. Influencerparenting.com. And if you have a teen or tween, we have information on that on influencer parenting. But just remember this: the strongest influence in the life of your child wins. The only question is that you? Right. And as parents, we want that to be you so that you win. So you control the narrative, right? So you don't have whatever your views are, political views or wearing a mask view or whatever view on all the crazy in the world. You want to control that narrative as mom and dad and not have your people going out there being trained by the other people you think are crazy on the other side of the spectrum. We want to influence people. And that's what we help moms, dads, families all over the world to do. So
awesome.
Cool. Love it, man.
Love it. Thank you, Brad Zude. And the last thing, the book.
Yeah. You can go to just search My Baby Can Sleep on Amazon,
there it is.
or you can get, I think you can get it on our website. I'm sure maybe you can, but yeah, that's a $14 book that'll change your life. I got a $19 a month toddler program that'll change your life. And, I don't want to guilt him into that anymore because it seems like a shameless sales plug, but it's a heck of a value. So
I imagine it's for if your baby can't sleep. Then
yeah,
you might want to read My Baby Can Sleep.
It's funny because we got the idea, obviously, like My Baby Can Read. That was like that whole thing, like when we were kids or whatever. But they didn't name it My Baby Can't Read. No one wants to admit that. So I'm like, okay, we want to like future pace them and sell them the vision of what would happen. So
Totally
love it.
Well, great. Go with the positive.
Hey,
yep.
Thank you for stopping by. It's been a pleasure to have you on the Insurance Dudes, Brad.
No, my pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah,
so much.
thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Mr. Craig.
Oh, Mr. Jason. That's like the good old days.
The old Bell days.
Times were so much simpler back then.
And how many? We've had over like 200 interviews.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
It's nuts. It is nuts.
So we put together a little webinar from all the things that we've learned, right?
Yeah, totally. I love it. It was a lot of fun doing it, putting it together, and there's some really good stuff in there.
Yes.
What did we learn?
We learned how to sell hundreds of thousands of premium a month using any internet leads, and this is based on a whole bunch of big dudes selling ton of premium a month, like over 1 million.
Yeah, and it eliminates that turnover, right? The staff doesn't get burned out.
It does. It creates predictable sales. Like, whoa, right?
Well, and we also learned how we can copy the processes of the big, giant, fastest growing P&C carriers and the big local agents.
Yep.
That was a lot of fun.
So it was fun. We put it together. It's on a website. Go to love.teledudes.com. That's LOVE.TELEDUDES.com.
How do you spell like that on the fly, Mr. Jason?
Well, it took me some practice, but it's love.teledudes.com.
You are good at that. So let me get this straight. It's love, LOVE .teledudes.com.
Love.teledudes.com. Ooh.
I love that.
I love it too. I surprised you too, Mr. Craig. You didn't know.
Tricked me. All right. Well, I'll see you later.
Okay.
Bye.